Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Content Market Webinars by DICM. This webinar series, which takes place on the third Wednesday of each month, aims to share insights and experiences from industry experts. For this month, we will be covering Arabic content, where we will be taking a deep dive into trends, insights, as well as discuss genres in the MENA region and the latest productions. Joining us today are Nahi Sannan from Eagle Films and Natalie Habib from Blink Studios. Just a little introduction about myself. My name is Nahla Al-Malawani. I'm a content strategist, executive producer, and the founder of Quiche Productions, and I'm very pleased to be moderating today's panel. Our first speaker is Nahi Sannan from Eagle Films. Nahi has 27 years of experience domestically and internationally, mainly in broadcast, digital media companies, and the IT industry. He is the Chief Commercial Officer of Eagle Films Middle East, which is one of the largest motion picture Hollywood movies distributors and Arabic content production houses in MENA. They provide market-specific insights and solid partnerships in the new digital entertainment space for Tier 1, SVOD, OTT, on-demand platforms, and a range of broadcasters across the MENA region. He led various content initiatives across multiple platforms and formats to drive sales, engagement, retention, leads, and positive customer behavior. Nahi, thank you for joining us today, and welcome.
Thank you so much for asking me to speak today. It's an honor for me to contribute to our region, because I believe we all need to put our heads together and take our region to the next level, because we have so many great potentials that we have not tapped into. And we have so many great people in the region, talented, and they have so much knowledge that we could benefit from their expertise.
Totally agree. Thank you so much, Nahi, for joining us. Whenever you're ready, would you like to start with your presentation?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What moves us? Is it the things we see that inspire our hearts, or ideas that drive us into action? The centuries of human triumph, or the moments between a glance and a word? For us, it's all of these. An exhilarating journey, a story told through the magic of the movies. Our story began with a spark, born out of a desire to offer the movies that matter to our region. Eagle Films has grown an exceptional catalog to become a major independent film distributor. Movies that have thrilled audiences around the world. Films that have earned the highest critical acclaim. The success of our mission to deliver inspiring stories fueled our determination to tell our own. Armed with 2 decades of industry know-how and a deep connection to our audience. Eagle Films entered the sphere of Arabic content. What followed was a state-of-the-art movie production division. Onwards and upwards, we cut a path into Arabic series production, soaring to new heights. From our unique position, we carve new roads towards our goals as a self-powered motion picture enterprise. A dim theater, the big screen. In the heart of every movie lover is the urge to share the adventure. Our popular multiplexes bring together technology and comfort, completing the full circle of our filmed entertainment offering. Our trusted services and market insight, our commitment to quality and drive to succeed have paved the way to lasting relationships with renowned independent studios. Our experience allows us to look far and to bear the torch in the new age of digital entertainment. We forge alliances with leading content platforms to seek out captivating stories and craft our own and deliver them to you. The sky is the limit. Eagle Films.
So as I was saying, there are 420 million native speakers across the world. And when we look at content, Arabic content online, there's only 3%. There's so much we can do. Our region in the last 10 years has gone through so much, an accelerated cultural shift amongst the youth, the entertainment industry transforming, the digital transformation, the digital era. So all of these should spur new opportunities to tap into new demands that is more valuable and relatable to mainly the youth, the skew that nobody is, or very few is looking into, the youth, both male and female, especially the population that is under 15. And if you look at the 15 to 24, the young adults, these ages, we don't have content that speaks to them. I believe in our region today, we don't have enough content for these ages. Yes, there has been several attempts, and they were pretty good. Recently, Al-Rawabi, Jamil Jiddan, Bint al-Thawani, and in the past, there was Jinn on Netflix as well. We, Eagle Film, did Prova. Those are more like a high school, young adults discussing their stories, their problems. In the past, about in 2000, there was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful series called Min Ahla Buyut Ras Beirut, Best Houses of Ras Beirut, a city in Beirut. And it talks about the teenagers, the young adults, their stories, how they tap into things. While we look at the West, they are monetizing on this. They are leveraging on this. We look at 13 Reasons Why. Elite, though they've gone to the extreme, but still it is a serious content that it speaks to the young youth and young adults. Atypical, Riverdale, and so on and so forth. So this is one area that we need to focus on in our region. Now, another area that it's interesting, we as production houses and channels, we all focus that we want content because we have only quarter of our women are in the work field. So we generally produce content that talks to them. It is more focused on their interests. But the poor us, the male, that we don't have enough content that it's male skewed. That talks, that is macho series, heist, this, that, but at a level that is really that guys can sit and talk, about after watching it. We don't have that in our region, unfortunately. And then if I look also on the trends in our region, what, the lack of the unscripted content. We have unscripted, but we don't have enough. We have maybe, singing reality competitions shows, but we don't have. Yes, we don't have the talk shows that talks about, similar to the ones we see, best mom, this, that, home improvement, obese, all these nice series that they have, we don't have in our region. And then one last thing in our region, if we look at where everything is focused as far as the big deals, the big budget, the big sales, it's happening in UAE because it's the center of the Gulf, along with Saudi Arabia and Egypt because it's the biggest hub of production. So looking at all these elements, we need to see how we could leverage and use and take advantage and try to benefit from the stories that were told already. Now, if I look at the market, how it is segmented, so we know that our region remains in development phase, which is good. I mean, development means that's good. That means there's still opportunities to come, and many of us on the production house side and on the main element side could benefit from it. But if we look at the trend across the world, major studios have started migrating or started being bought out by each other. So this is a new trend. Fox bought by Disney, MGM bought by Amazon, Warner with Amazon. So they're all working together. Whilst in our region, we're not there yet. And I think this is one area, if we really get there, maybe not now, but and this is why I say we are still in development phase. But when we get there, we will be able to work on the weaknesses that we have in our region, such as sometimes we have the infrastructure weakness in some countries. We have the ability to transport, the the local regulations. So all of these, once we have major players in a joint venture or joint operations, they will be able to add value to each other. And if I want to look at the genres that are surfing in new genres that are surfing in our region, not in the MENA only, in the world. If I focus mainly in our region, now our region as a distributor for Hollywood content since 1940s with our family, we know that horror has always been a key genre for us in the region. However, whenever it was produced locally, it wasn't well accepted for a number of reasons. But in the recent years, we see that more and more people are accepting it, and more series are becoming perfectioning it in a way that it's becoming more realistic. Because as an audience, they want to see something that is really realistic and relatable. And we see that today. Us Eagle, we did several series last year. We did Sitt al-Husn for Huda Hussein. We did Kafet Hoof and others, and they were horror, gory, and violent, serial killer, and they were accepted. They did well, and they were well perceived by the audience. And we saw other partners in the industry. They did recently also horror comedy, and that is also doing well. We see some series that are coming in fantasy and musicals, very few, but we need, it's nice to see more of these. if I were to say that we don't have enough comedy in our region. The new comedy is coming, but it is not there the way it should. We still focus so much on the social drama. So we need to modernize the comedy, not to the silly level, because there's a fine line. To be more comedy of that dark comedy that makes you laugh, just makes you laugh. We have these genres already existed, but we need to look at them in a different approach. Like for instance, there are new genres coming of age. So coming of age, it is the genre that basically talks to the youth and the young adults solely. It is for them, it talks their language, and it's not silly, it is realistic, it's relatable to them. And yet it could be action, it could be comedy, or it could be any of that. And we have the comedy that anybody, any age range could enjoy and benefit from. Now, if we look at the episode duration and number of episodes, again, as I said earlier, that with the transformation and the entertainment and the acceleration of the OTT and the streaming platforms, there's more and more demand for miniseries, unlike the traditional linear TV. We have, similar to all our partners in the industry, been producing miniseries 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, and they're doing pretty good. Even there is also a new trend in Ramadan that there will be 15 episodes. There was last year, and there will be this year as well, a series of 15 episodes instead of the 30. People tend to like them if they want to binge watch them, or they are sort of like their go-to when they want to escape. But what I would like that we, all of us, as production houses, writers and directors and everybody, to focus more on feel-good stories. Unfortunately, again, in our region, we don't have that enough. We want to produce something if joyful. There's enough stress, there's enough headache in the world. So having these feel-good stories, inspirations, even they have them in separate genres today in the West. When we buy content for it is a separate genre on its own. They're called inspiration, feel-good. And this is something we need to have more in our region, reducing the episode duration from 45 minutes to 1 hour to 35 minutes. This is also has been huge contributing to the both actually the channel or the streamer and the production house, because they don't have to spend as much time in the production, and it reduces the production timing and the ability to have more series, in the pipeline in a year in a year's time. And just a very high, unfortunately I cannot give names of series, but we have for Ramadan we have a nice feel-good series. It's a nice family comedy feel-good series. It will be an Egyptian series. It's one of the series that really is very close to my heart, because I really, in Ramadan we need these series. From now to Ramadan, we have a heist series gonna be released. We have another series that's gonna be released about also, the fantasy, in a different world to dream, imagine. We have the traditional cheating. We have the violent, meaning serial killing and all these things. And we have also our Ramadan series, the Pan Arab Lil Maut 3, Till Death 3, which is currently in production. parts of it were shot in Tunisia. So the season 3 will come with a totally new, different twist to it. Huda Hussein also, we started producing the series for her. So this is where we are. We want everybody to enjoy the content. We want to think outside the box. We want everybody to think outside the box. There's so many stories that has not been told. And I believe our region, it is the next big thing. And that's it for my side. Thank you so much for tapping in.
Thank you, Nahi. Thank you so much. And great slate for the coming year. A lot of different genres and very diverse. So
thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go now to the next speaker. And then Nahi will come back to you with a Q&A at the end. So our next speaker is Natalie Habib from Blink Studios. Since 2010, Natalie Habib, co-owner and executive producer, has played a pivotal role in positioning Blink Studios as the Middle East's go-to film and animation studio, upholding international standards of content production for linear, digital, and immersive platforms. Blink Studios was set up in 2005 as an independent studio which develops IPs that represent stories from the Middle East aimed at children and family audiences. With many successful international series, co-productions, and award-winning short films, Blink Studios' IP slate is original in its narrative, treatment, and production value, aiming to win the hearts and minds of diverse international audiences. Blink Studios has a solid presence in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, with accelerating growth in Los Angeles and Houston, anchored in 2 decades of a rich portfolio of service work, co-productions, and original IPs that features untold stories from the Middle East. Natalie, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi. I'm not sure if you guys can see me and hear me. Is everything going okay?
Everything is fine so far.
Yeah, I've been talking to the gods of technology and telling them to stay on our side.
I think the 3 of us are not, and that's a problem.
So thank you, first of all, Nahla, for this wonderful introduction. It's absolutely a pleasure for me to be here. And I love the fact that Nahi has already set the tone for what it is that we want to talk about further and beyond. But so that I keep to time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you a reel that pretty much embodies what Blink Studios has been doing since 2005. And then I'll go through a short presentation and then we'll leave it to Q&A. So if everybody is okay, shall I share screen at the moment?
Yes, please.
Fantastic. All right, let me do that. Okay, right. So can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So let me play the reel and then we'll speak about Blink Studios.
Okay.
If I have seen further, it is because I stand on the shoulders of giants. I wonder who those giants were.
All right. So basically, I would like to share with you a little bit about the story of Blink for those who only know of us now. We've been around since 2005. We pretty much are what you consider the quintessential independent studio that started here in the UAE, servicing the entire region, but then slowly after that, also getting into international co-productions, and then alongside to that, developing our own originals. From day one, Blink Studios' mission and vision was very clear. We wanted to create and develop and produce stories for the visual screens from the Middle East to the world. It was never the idea of just servicing the Middle East, but pretty much putting the Middle East on the map in the world of content. And that's why it was very important to remain authentic in every possible way, international and Middle Eastern. And in terms of delivering that content, we've always had the capacity, the capabilities, and the expertise to do film, animation, VFX, which a lot of studios tend to steer away from because of the complexities that is involved in the tech. But that is something that we overcame in the last 17 years of our history. Having said this, we started in Dubai, we expanded into Abu Dhabi, we found presence in Los Angeles in 2018, and then in 2021 we also set up studios in Houston. We've worked with a lot of co-production partners. We've developed these relationships solidly and strongly because one thing we always said, as independent producers, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Creating collaborative co-partnerships with companies that have been in the industry for as long as 100 years, these are the people that will teach you how to do it right and do it well. And we've been lucky enough to engage with them from the get-go so that what we do today would actually be something that people would welcome on an international level. Of course, along that road, many awards, many recognitions, ones that we don't take for granted, but always try to build on with the next thing that we work on. Now, the most important thing here today we want to talk about is obviously what's trending in the Arab world. I think the focus should be about what should be trending in the Arab world. There's a lot of genres that are being treated. And obviously, when we watch screens across the pan-Arab networks, we tend to see quite a few drama series. We tend to see documentaries. We do see comedy. Of course, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to do better, but that's the case everywhere in the world. One thing for sure that we're focusing on is family and children content. Reason being is that we believe that's an audience that is truly international and global in the stories that you can develop for them. And you could capture the minds and heart of not only on a regional level, but also on an international one. And what you see here in front of you is literally the stepping stones to trying to get there, because it's no easy feat to try and say, I want to create something that the whole world needs to appreciate if you don't go from the ground up to actually understand what it is to create a great story that people want to actually go and watch. And here is a timeline of various milestones that we've crossed through the years and managed to create, either through co-pros or originals, the impact that we want to get to, which we're still obviously reaching towards. A picture tells 1,000 stories. And that's why with every production that we took on board, when we were faced with the challenge, especially when we were working with co-producers, international ones like the CBBS, which was back in 2010 to 2012, we had to prove ourselves as producers, directors, writers, artists, that we can get the job done to the standard that they want. And that's why this particular IP did phenomenally well. Though not owned by Blink Studios, we co-produced it. We still delivered to expectations and made sure that we got the next opportunity. Short films are the best way to tell a great story and put your stories out there. The Middle East needs more short films produced because it is a way to develop the bigger feature, the bigger impact, the bigger hit. And we've done a couple of those that we proudly say went international in the Arabic language, and not in dubbed language, but specifically in the language and the stories of the region. Of course, comes the next big co-production with the return of Sesame Street to the region after its disappearance for almost 20 years, which was a phenomenal comeback that really engaged children on every level. Then comes the opportunity to work with, rest his soul, Omar al-Sharif. That was his last production for a short film that we made, and we were very honored to have him with us on that particular production. And then an original that we launched with ourselves, took, found the courage to say, let's go out, produce our own, and go out there with a show for children, which at that time was Karim al-Noor, which actually went as far as California and was awarded for being one of the first immersive storytelling experiences that was ever produced from the world. So, and it just happens to be a studio in the Middle East. Our future is very, very rich, and there's so much to look forward to. This is some of the stuff that we're working on. We're focusing on what Nahi very well said, missed genres that are yet to be treated in such a way that they bring people closer to the screen and bring international audiences closer to the Middle East in a way that is a feel-good story. And that's why some of these IPs that we've been developing, and they're at different stages of development or co-production, these particular ones do touch on specific genres that cater to the children, the youth, and the family audiences, which is our main focus. So without further ado, I don't want to linger too much on Blink, but would rather give it away to the audience to ask their questions, and for me and Nahi to give the responses they're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Natalie. So yeah, right now we're going to be moving to the Q&A. The first question we got, Natalie, this is for you. Do you think we will see development in Arabic children and family content?
I definitely believe that that's going to be the case. There is no doubt in our minds, since we started Blink Studios, that this category of audience needs to be sort of treated in such a way that it is a reliable audience that can actually bring back a return on investment. One of the things that a lot of people or a lot of industry people fear from the content that focuses on children is that the format could be animation, which is perceived to be expensive, which is not necessarily the case anymore. And there are many such cases where animation has proven to be worth every penny and dime that was put on screen. But further to that, there is that sense that audiences that are children will not bring a return on an investment as viewership. The irony of it all is that all the kids are sitting on YouTube, all right, and they're all watching international shows in languages that is not their own, in content that does not represent them. But given the opportunity that they engage with one that does, I think that all these views will show an immediate shift. And we need just one particular hit to make that happen. And I think all this talk about the negligence towards children and family audiences will disappear. One hit. It takes one hit, and then the whole story will change for that particular audience and content.
Totally agree. Nahi, this one is for you. Why did you decide to make season 3 of Till Death series? What makes this series very special to have a third season?
To be honest, when we did season 1, that was the season finale, and then after the overwhelming success season 1 achieved, the channel and Shahid requested that we consider developing or producing season 2, and then after season 2 last year, the story ended and they fell off the cliff, and that's it. It was it. Again, the production house, Eagle Film Production House, the actresses, Shahid, we kept getting requests. No, do not kill them. It's not the right way to go. We want more of Saha. We want more of Reem. Tell us more stories. And the series was trending huge. So we usually, and honestly, I am not a big fan of seasons, because I know how seasons and installment first, second, third, they don't do well usually, because it loses the core story. But with Lil Maut or Till Death, we've gone ahead with it, and it's done so well so far with the first 2 seasons And we with season 3, we tried to introduce very new elements. We did some of the shooting in Tunisia. We introduced Tunisian actors, Tunisian story to bring a new element to that story that it wasn't there before. We started way before. I mean, right after Ramadan, we started the talks, and it was decided after. I believe in September, October, it was decided with the channel that yes, we will do season 3. And we met with Philippe and Nadine. We said, that's it, we will do it. And we started the work right then. So.
It's great, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Natalie, this one is for you. Originals from the Middle East to reach global audiences is a close stepping stone for the regional industry. What projects are you working on to meet this opportunity?
Well, there's quite a few projects, and they come in different formats and different genres, but there's a reason why we are working on them. I think one thing that needs to be sort of clarified when it comes to talking or speaking to an international global audience, there is a predominant arc that is called a universal theme that everybody would capture, whether they live in the region or beyond, but without alienating nuances that would represent the region. Finding stories that can play on both of these sides and can be developed into a series production or into a film feature production is where the difficulty is. And taking the right time to develop those stories, especially before you go into filming or anything else of pure production, that's where really everything and all the effort should really go. Story writing or script writing is one of the most essential elements of development and of production that I fear to this day is still not spent enough on in terms of time, efforts, money, and potentially even allowing the talents to do so. And I think that's where it all begins. So if you get that story well developed and well written, and then you take into consideration the variables that will allow it to be enjoyed by somebody living all the way in Venezuela or someone sitting down the street from me, that's where you know that you can actually rely on the fact that the stories coming out of the region can really go international. And that's not something that can happen with the snap of a finger. You really need to understand certain qualifying requirements that allow for these things to happen. And what we've done is we've picked stories from the past and books from the past that have not been tapped into, that have been neglected or have been produced to misrepresent what they truly are all about. And those stories are the ones that we believe, if treated right, from a contemporary standpoint, from an audience standpoint, they are the ones that we believe will go through the threshold. And those are the ones that we're currently working on. I cannot focus a lot on what they are, but they do exist. And those are the ones that we have picked from the lot.
Great. Nahi, international adaptation is trending now. Is Eagle Films planning to adapt any scripts and produce in Arabic?
So Eagle Film in the last 2 years, we have been really active on the adaptation. We did Tango was an adaptation. Grand Hotel obviously was an adaptation. Many others of our series were adaptations. We have a few adaptations right now, but we're giving, to be honest, the opportunity to our local writers to show us what they can do, and similar what Natalie was saying, to develop. Right now, we're working on Sayyidat al-Zamalek lady, and it's a story, and we want to develop it locally. We have Al-Marhoon. We have so many local stories that we're working on. We are, we've acquired a format. We are working on it. But again, we are very cautious when it comes to formats, because a format, when you adapt it, you have to adapt it that it reflects us, not, it won't be similar. It won't be something in the West and we bring it here and it doesn't make any sense. So this is why we try to stay away. And then then with formats, there's always this, if you feel constraints, you have to follow certain if you want themes, certain lines, certain storyline, and some of these storylines don't work for us in the Middle East because they're not part of our culture, so we cannot adapt them. So that's why, but we have, however, done many adaptations, over 20 adaptations, I believe we have done. In Egypt, in Lebanon, one of our biggest series, Grand Hotel, it is an adaptation. Tango is an adaptation, and Layali Ujini Night, and many others. So yes, we do look at the formats, but if it doesn't make sense for us, we pass it on.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if I may add to what Nahi was saying, so one thing that what I like about what Eagle Films have done with their adaptations is that, like Nahi very well said, they really try to make sure that they're reflective of the region, right? So, and still appealing to a large audience. And I don't think that that's an easy feat. It's as difficult as taking something from scratch and creating an original, because it's probably even harder sometimes, because you're bound by some of those constraints that the format has enforced on you, or the original obviously enforces on you, but you're struggling to find a way to twist it and without it looking forced. And I think this is what you see in Tango and in Eugenie Nights and in Grand Hotel, that they kept to the value of the production, but at the same time, the adaptation made a lot of sense. And I think adaptation is a fantastic way of developing your production capabilities, because you're starting from somewhere, you're remolding it, and you are testing the grounds with it, and then you can then go to say, well, you know what, enough of adapting other people's work, now it's time to make our own. But then you're ready, right? A lot of people want to go original from the start, but in true fact, there is no such thing as an original, by the way, because every original is actually based on some reference. If not today's reference or a 50-year-old reference, it could have been from 200 years old, and it could have been a reference of a different sort of art form. So originals are always inspired and somehow adaptations or improvements of an existing story. And I think adaptation is when you actually admit to that fact, and then you know what you want to get out of it as a producer, because you're putting yourself in the audience's place and you want them to see something that they can relate to. So yeah, I think adaptations is trending because it's a great segue to real originals. It's a wonderful segue to real originals. So yeah.
Nahi, a question for you is, do you think musicals can be a trending genre in MENA?
Depending how it's done. See, my problem with musicals and comedy, if they're not produced, there's a very fine line between nice musical. We were working on a project similar to Glee for the Arab world, and it's still in the work, because if you look at Star Academy, when it first started for many years, it was so successful. So these shows, yes, they do well. Is it scripted, unscripted? Even if it's scripted, it has to be done in a very smart way, that it's part of the story. So they could become trending, but again, they have to be done in a very smart, intelligent way, not to bore the audience or become very silly. Because this is the problem. Sometimes we have these stories. I was watching a movie the other day. I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe we have something like this." And it's a comedy movie for big actors. I don't want to say from where or who, but it was bad. It was terrible. It was supposed to be funny, but it was on the silly side. So we need to be careful, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Natalia, do you want to add something?
we are working on a musical, all right, if you want to call it a musical, but it is not a heavy loaded musical. Okay, because again, musicals, where do musicals originate from? They originate literally from the theater, right? So, and we do have a rich theater history. It's not like theater has been abandoned predominantly in the Middle East. We do have that. But to take that and translate it into film, for example, is a tricky thing. And again, it's about striking a balance. So musicals, I think, are great genres, and they tend to bring a lot of family audiences together, and they're memorable. But as Nahi very well said, is not to overdo it, right? Because once you overdo the singing and the dancing versus the script and the telling of a good story, then you're lost between, is this a theater show, or am I watching a film, or this is becoming a little bit too corny for me, you know? So, and obviously music that fits a great story is what is the biggest trick here. Not every story can have songs and dance in it. So picking that story that lends itself to something like this and making it a screen event, I think is doable, but it has to be treaded very carefully in the sense.
I mean, I'll give two examples. Recently, Maktub Alayya, it was aired in Ramadan for Akram Hosni. It was beautiful. It had about 5-6 songs throughout the entire month of Ramadan. It was live. People liked it, enjoyed the songs. Even the songs, they went viral. And that's it. And as you said, Natalie, it was nice. It wasn't too overdone. Similar to Zico, I believe, the movie. It was also very nice. I mean, the movie, Al Ghazala, also the Ghazala song, it became also viral. Again, it wasn't overdone. I think there were 2 songs or 3 songs in the entire movie, and that's it. I mean, so musicals are doable, yes, and they are feel good, and we need feel good. So I do encourage musicals.
Yeah,
definitely.
To add to that, Nadine Labaki's Halla Lawain, that movie had one song.
Yes.
One song. Until this day, that song is played independent to the film, and whether it's a reminder of the film or not, people love that song. But if you watch that sequence of how that song was produced and where it was placed in the film and how it organically lent itself to be sung and not to be acted out, and then exit back into the story, that's where it became an intelligent musical. One song. And can you say that it's not a musical? I think it's a musical. You've got one song and it becomes a musical to a certain.
Yeah.
So that's the way to do it. So hopefully we'll get there.
Okay, question for both of you. It came separately, but are you open for co-productions?
Nahi, do you want to take this? I'll take this.
No, ladies first, obviously.
Okay, we are co-producers by nature of how we started our studio and how we learned the craft of making film and series productions. So yes, we are always open to co-productions. We are always open to reviewing the opportunity of co-productions and seeing exactly how we can play a role in the co-pro. At the moment, we're co-producing 2 IPs. Generally, they're out of the US, but they are towards children and family audiences. They do have nuances from the Middle East, because as co-producers who came on board, we said, listen, love to do this, but we need to have a little bit of a reference to where we come from. And the producers who came up with that actual production were open to that, because co-production is about collaborative production. So you have to be able to work together and to find a way where everyone is happy doing this particular project. So yeah, we are always open to co-productions. We're always reviewing opportunities of co-pros, and yeah, if anyone out there, please feel free.
So same thing with us. I mean, we currently work with the number of partners across the region, because we are present across the region, mainly in the Gulf. And the Gulf, we need the local Gulf partners. We have in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, we have partners. So definitely we're open. As long, I mean, what is the objective of the partnership? As long as it benefits the project and it adds value to it, and it benefits the region. So if these two elements are there, then why not? Yes, we are open for that.
Okay, good. This is for both of you also, it's about short films. Do you think short films with social impact could be demanded by the Arab audiences? I think Natalie already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, there's, okay, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. You know, and this is recorded too, so I'm going to have to be very, very in what I'm about to say. It's not like we haven't been producing a lot of short films, okay? We've been producing too many short films, okay?
Yeah.
The concern that generally, and with social impact, by the way, because especially live action film-based shorts tend to touch on an emotional journey of some sort, and you know, it is a moment that is captured by either the writer, director, producer, whoever owns the short film, to deliver a specific message, right? And the more the better, right? The more the better. I don't think that there's a lack of short films. My concern with short films is that what do we do with them after they're made? And what I mean by that is not about them getting distributed. We all know short films is a hard distribution task, right? And we all know that they are pretty much almost an expose for a specific talent or a studio. But the problem is that's where it all stops. That's the concern that I see, is that I've watched a lot of the short film festivals that has happened across the region on a historical level, and I saw good stuff, I saw bad stuff, but the one thing is I rarely saw continuance, perseverance, commitment to go further and beyond. So you do your short film. What do you do with your short film to make sure that you go to the next level with it? So that you as a director, you as a writer, you as an actor, you as an artist, you as a production designer, you, whoever the people were on the short film, which is usually a small crew, right? Where are you going next with this? Or are we saying, oh, I've got my name credited on the short film, hurrah, 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 it's all over. But then think about how you lost the faith of your audience at that moment. You lost the faith of your investors who invested into that film. And that's where obviously we move on to the next thing with these short films, is the perfect way to understand the business of movie making and what it takes to make films, and how that can translate for me as a case study who worked on a short film to extend it, to start knowing how I would get involved on features or on series or whatever. But here it seems that there are pretty much sort of like passion projects, and then that's it. I mean, I'm not saying across the board, but very few of those directors really took it to the next level. So what I would hope to see is that if investments are made into short films, let them happen, but let there be some requirement for, or a sort of sense of consciousness that it needs to be for a bigger reason, and to pursue and persist and to go after that.